Man, we started out I started out with Richard Wolf. You started out. I guess you kind of started is the wrong word, but with you. But with me, my first gig in L.A. was with Richard Wolf, and we had a good run, a lot of #1 records, and that's how you and I met.
It is how
Richard.
we met. Yeah, I mean, meeting Richard Wolf was great in the sense that it was the first opportunity of working with a producer, making an album.
Yeah.
You know, I was in the band Buddha Hat, which and it eventually got signed to Atlantic. No one's ever heard of it, obviously, you know, but you guys can, I don't know if there's
It never came out?
Record never came out, you know, and I want to say this was, what, 96-ish, maybe?
Probably. I can't remember.
I think it's somewhere around 96. In any event.
A piece of trivia, I mixed that record in the same room Andy Wiles worked in.
Right, over at Encore in Burbank,
I couldn't make heads or tails of that room, but I guess it sounded...
No, you know, listen, it was an amazing opportunity to basically, even though the record never came out, I look back at it at so many people that I met. You know, I met Rob Cavallo, Craig Kelman, Randy Jackson, you obviously. So many people that even still to this day that I have relationships with. And it was also, so making the record, learning about music production, learning about publishing, record deals, you know, all of this. It was like a crash course in all of it.
I was wondering if you could tell me, where did the name hard drive come from? Which I don't see associated with you nearly as much anymore.
Yeah, Richard Wolf gave me that. I maintain that it was because I was pushing him so hard. He maintains because it was my southern accent. He just thought it was hilarious the way I said the word. I prefer my version of it, which I think is more accurate. But Richard nonetheless, Richard gave it to me. The reasons are still being argued and discussed. But Richard Wolf gave me that. Richard was part of a production team called Wolf and Epic. In L.A., that was the first #1 record I'd done, was with him. It was called Do Me Baby, Belle Biv DeVoe, the remix. And Richard is to me, is like Ron Fair. I learned so much from Richard. He's a Juilliard trained pianist, like Ron is, like, you know, musically on another level. And I regarded myself as a pretty good musician, but guys like Ron and Richard expanded my musicality, which expanded my mix. Richard would leave these messages on my answering phone at 2 in the morning, answering machine at 2 in the morning, and I'm thinking, I'm fired. I just don't point me going back tomorrow. I'd go back the next day, and he'd come in. It's great. It's great. I'm like, what about the answer machine? Oh, you did it. I'm like, whoa.
And so from that came hard drive.
Yeah, somehow, some way, but it's Richard.
Yes, I remember seeing Dave Hard Drive Pensado. I'm like, hard drive.
I kept it because you remember our friend Lil Silas, one of the all-time greats in the industry. A lot of people couldn't remember my last name, but they'd call Lil and say, I want that hard drive guy that worked for you on so-and-so records, because I did a lot of work in the first 6 months I was out here. I did a lot of work for Lil. And so it became an easy way for people to remember who I was, because they couldn't pronounce, well, I can't even pronounce Pensado now. They couldn't pronounce my last name, they couldn't remember it, but they could remember hard drive because they were just starting to get popular. We were at about the 20 megabyte stage back then.
Yeah.
And so it was a way for people to remember my name, and I kind of dug it, you know. I never really had a good nickname.
Yeah, I always liked that name because it had the digital connotation to it.
Yeah, in a way it did.